The manner in which someone interacts or reapproaches has the potential to be misinterpreted by you. The universe is giving you a heads up to move things in a smooth direction versus creating unnecessary setbacks. Though this is recorded for a particular day, please keep in mind that these readings are timeless, so whenever you come across it, you're meant to find it, and there may be a message within for you. Hello everyone, it's Amanda with Orchid Divinations, and I'm here with your message of the day. So I do want to say that I've noticed my audio quality getting a bit wonky and tinny. So I'm going to be seeing if I can find a decent mic that fits with a thicker, larger Android cover. I'll be looking for a mic as well that has a good noise cancellation as well, because you may be hearing my dog snore in today's read. She is particularly stuffed up and I think it might be allergies. So if you hear snoring, that's my little doggy. That being said, on to today's reading. So I think today may be mostly the universe trying to head off what could possibly be misinterpreted upon the return of someone. And if you aren't aware as to why a certain person is going to be coming in the way that they are, you may accidentally cause a tower. I don't think it's so detrimental as to push this person into another ghosting cycle, or if this isn't romantic, I don't think this will completely destroy a connection, but it will derail something that could otherwise go very smoothly. So here we start off with movement coming in. With the cycles, this to me is the impending return of someone that we have been seeing in the wings. I think this is now entering into the realm of actual 3D observable movement, and for most that means actual contact with you. However, I am sensing this is going to start off quite small and contained, and with this coming out pointing downward and on its side, depending on how this return is received, it has the potential, if improperly handled, to go downhill. I'm also getting from these cards as well that this read in particular is in regards to someone you've had several in and out cycles with. Periods of talking, meeting up for some, and then periods of withdrawal and silence. We do have the fire card here, which is sometimes an indicator to me of a twin flame connection, which would make sense with the in and out cycles that I'm picking up. But as usual with a lot of my reads, I'm not going to limit this to a romantic or twin flame connection. I'm going to keep the first part initially more generalized, but it gets a little more romantically specific in my side decks. This laid out message here, though, can apply to just about anyone that you are waiting for a return from. For instance, if this is a friend who's moving back into town, or a client who is returning a call or an email, or someone getting back to you about something, even if that's a company that you needed a call back on that you hired to do a job of some kind. For instance, a landscaper or plumber that you may have reached out to and are just waiting for a call back. So this can be anyone making any kind of return, big or small, if you've had an ongoing back and forth of any kind with communication in any of the previous scenarios I just mentioned. And this is especially relevant for the cyclic in and out of twin flames. As I was initially saying, this interaction has the potential to go downhill and to create a tower if received or responded to in a certain way. It seems like whoever is going to be calling or reaching out has crossed some kind of turbulent or emotional time in their life, and they are kind of in a rocky, recovering state. Now, if this is a stranger, i.e., someone you hired for an odd job, this will obviously be unbeknownst to you. Obviously, not a lot of people divulge their personal life to strangers. If this is a returning masculine counterpart, which is the case for most of you here, keeping in mind, as always, that masculine counterparts can be male or female. It's about energy dynamics of a connection and has no connection to any outside gender. If this is a returning masculine, they are going through this as well, and it is not something that they will initially share. Notice here just how gloomy and dismal this card is here. Again, they are still in a very rocky emotional state, even though it seems that they have crossed or surpassed the actual emotional crisis. But with the sun in the reverse to the side, this person is still in a rather defeated and hopeless type state. This obviously is going to put this person into a very guarded state in interactions, which may feel a bit, I don't want to say abrasive. It's not so much abrasive, just not very amiable. They'll be more kind of sullen if you look at the way this King of Swords is sitting. And I'm getting that both the Emperor and this King of Swords here are one and the same person. I'm not getting the energy of two people here. This tower is not only the chaos that has already ensued for them, but these lightning bolts here are the potential extra chaos of the tower that this person's sullen and guarded nature can create between the two of you. Again, this person is not going to be very open or amiable, with the heart chakra area here being completely blocked by this Emperor. And you may get a bit frustrated because you will feel as though this person is not as engaged or is distracted. Though notice his sword is up, so communication in itself isn't going to be the problem as far as clarity. It's just that the nature of the engagement and its lack of openness and congeniality that will pose a bit of a problem. If this was a business, it'll just kind of seem like poor customer service. If this is a returning love counterpart, again, you may feel as though they are not very engaged, that they're distracted, and you'll just get this feeling of them being, again, sullen, for lack of a better word. This tower and the emotional river that we saw that they had recently crossed could be all that past turbulence of the toxicity that was around them. Even if it was just self-inflicted toxicity on their part of some kind, things such as addictions or behaviors that they've had to overcome, that would also be considered part of that past turbulent time that they've just crossed over. However, for the most part, it's been toxic people they've had to tear themselves from or maneuver away from. And that's been really pretty draining. And again, it had them seeking the outside solutions that we saw because of it. If this is a romance, this owl here is showing to me that there's something as well about their approaching you in this manner that is this masculine intentionally being a bit reserved because of the wisdom that they gained when in this past state of reflection and meditation. Within that reflection, they became aware of what this connection was and your past dynamic together. They don't want to rush in, as we've seen before, because they're trying to wisely steer clear of repeating the past impulsivity and their tendency, for most of them, to run. If this is some kind of other connection, you will find this person clear the sword is up. And with the owl, they will be very knowledgeable. But again, it's going to be their lack of warmth, I want to say, that has the potential to kind of rub you the wrong way. These cards here are kind of warning you to not be or come across as overly controlling of the situation. Don't try to force this person into engaging in, if this is a business or a client, don't try to force this person into engaging in conversation beyond what is necessary, beyond the job, or try to engage to get them to smile or to laugh. You know, if this is a stranger, try to just meet this person at their level of engagement. If they are a bit cool and sort of abrupt, not so much in a rough manner, but just kind of a little abrupt. I don't see rough per se, but they just are really kind of recovering from something and not in the mood to smile. And they may get a bit irked or uncomfortable if you're kind of hovering in a sense, in a way that shows that you don't trust them to do a job in a detailed way that you asked, or if you're just kind of hanging about. They will feel kind of overly pressured, and this may cause this person to break down in some regard. I can't say with any specifics what this reaction may be, but we just want to head off any kind of tower here. Try to keep things level and balanced and avoid controlling the interaction, its direction, and its overall mood. That's for if it's not romantic. If this is a returning love connection, again, it's going to be more on the cool and logical side. They will be very guarded, especially protecting their heart space, as we saw. But I'm hearing that this will just be how they are at first, especially with these cards here, and I will get to those in just a second. If you kind of allow them to approach in this manner, they will eventually open up and soften up. They just had quite the battle that they came from and are kind of still in a bit of a recovery mode and potentially adjusting to the loss of a few people, regardless of whether or not those people were toxic. It still is a bit of a hard loss. Again, we see that this sabotage card is kind of what can cause this tower. And the sabotage is this undressing of the salad in reverse here. This is attempting to over control the situation, the outcome, and in this case, in romance, trying to steer the initial conversations, and yes, that was plural. It will be a few interactions and conversations before the softening that will eventually come in. But trying to steer them in more of an emotional or romantic way will backfire. And it'll make this person, your masculine, reflexively recoil and throw back up their guards and shields. This is because they already felt attacked from where they just came from. And even if you are the most gentle and welcoming, drawing them back too soon into any kind of emotional or romantic conversations or gestures will oddly come off as a kind of emotional overwhelmment, and that will falsely trigger to their nervous system a fight or flight reflex to avoid an emotional burnout or breakdown. So even though you aren't necessarily attacking them as those others were, the emotional overwhelming inadvertently feels as though it's an attack to their system. So this is why they kind of need a resting or an easing into the connection period. That's very balanced and gentle. Again, we see he's just sitting here. So by giving grace and keeping in mind the battle that your masculine just came from and has this already taxed nervous system that's on a very frail and hairline trigger, will definitely help this reconnection overall. Now, some of you might say if the relationship or breakup with this person was particularly hard, that they caused a lot of damage and pain. So grace or gentleness is not really how you'd prefer to receive this individual. Some of you are rightfully very sad or mad, and you just want answers upon this person's return. It's like, if this person wants back and wants to engage in my life again, they have to explain themselves and they have to prove it. And I just want to say that I'm hearing and seeing with these cards and those that I see in the decks to the side that they plan to, and they will. Their intentions are solid and they know that they have explaining and proving to do. So it's just that a more abrasive, immediate confrontation as a response from you. Again, not saying that they don't deserve it in your particular case, but responding with that type of confrontation will be the breaking point to an already taxed nervous system of the masculine. And that is not really controlled by them at this point. It's kind of like a chemical cortisol type thing that needs a bit of time to rebound and normalize. If you look up and researched heightened cortisol levels of people who have endured abusive relationships or are recovering from some form of trauma, you might see in that research that a lot of them had different forms of compulsions or anxieties for a little while afterward until their chemical body could regulate. It is definitely an actual thing, and I think I may have even touched on heightened cortisol levels in either one of my daily blips or reads before. I may have also mentioned, and it's particularly kind of relevant here, I myself was in a very toxic and abusive marriage in the past. And that left me with very bad anxiety that even when I was safe and in a different space and even everything else emotionally was regulated, my physical body would still kind of reflexively react in a disproportionate fight or flight way. And that's kind of what's going on here for your masculine, even if this was self-inflicted, such as behavioral patterns or addictions. Those were still unstable states that their body is regaining and relearning how to develop a sense of safety and stability afterward. The body does begin to heal and realize that it's safe. It just needs a bit of time again to reset. What this masculine could really use, just as what was mentioned in my recent daily blip, is grounding and root chakra focus and work. However, I'm not sure if that's something initially, at least, that they will be responsive or receptive to if you try to mention that to them, only because that again may also potentially feel like a steering of the conversation in a more spiritual or emotional direction that they aren't quite at this moment ready for. Again, the issue was they were so sabotaged by these others, dictating their actions and their thoughts, and some in a very covert way, as we saw. And that kind of thing puts someone on alert, a very heightened state of awareness, vigilant of anything that may be perceived as the smallest amount of threat. I mean, look at this guy, very vigilant and ready, ready for battle and to defend if needed. And this opponent's wild daughter is that emotional irregularity and kind of that same sullen state that these others had placed them in. This is, I'm hearing, the tail end of their dark night of the soul that can't be mishandled or overly controlled. If you want this masculine back into your life, show him, unlike these others, that you don't plan on controlling him in ways that will cause him to lose the newfound self that he spent this reflective period finding and sticking up for. Finally, show him that you are a safe place of peace, balance, and acceptance. Again, the needed explanation and the necessary proof from this masculine is on its way. It's just in how you receive them in this state they are coming in with that could make the difference between working with you or feeling the need to bolt again, which is something that they definitely do not want to do. That is why they are being so cautious and trying to be very leveled and wise, because they are overly aware of their stressed, vigilant, and hair trigger state at this moment. If this is a non-romantic interaction, just kind of let this person do their job, which they will do well and knowledgeably so. Don't, negatively report their demeanor in a review, because again, it's just that they're coming from a very tough place. And unfortunately, you are the one dealing with them directly after it. I'm hearing that they are typically more warm, especially if you know them on a more personal level, like a family member or friend. This will feel very uncharacteristic for them, and that may cause you to want to push to get them to open up, which they won't be ready for. They will, but if you try to force whatever is wrong out of them, it could lead to them snapping or fighting or just simply retreating and hiding from you. Again, this period will not be lasting. This is just the universe trying to head off a bit of discomfort or chaos for the both of you, as well as any unnecessary tension or fights between you and whoever this is. Because it's all about potential misinterpretation and just allowing grace, even if you feel it's undeserved. Your best bet for answers is handling things in a less controlling or demanding way, in the way that you initially receive them, which only is if you want things to go well and smoothly down the line. However, as I always say, you have free will in all of your choices, and you know more than I do what is right within your heart and soul. So always stay true and follow that, no matter what I or the cards guide and suggest. No one is a better intuitive guide than your inner self. You do, however, have to make sure that impulsivity doesn't come from a reactionary place of pain or fear, because that may lead you in a direction that your heart didn't truly want to take. So always try to get more in touch with that true intention inside, even if it takes meditation to really discern pain and fear from truthful desire and what you truly wish to manifest. You can avoid becoming your own worst enemy in those cases by just doing that internal check-in within yourself. There is no need to keep going rounds and rounds with this person if it can be avoided. And one person, at least, has to be a bit more consciously aware to allow this cycle to cease. And that, actually, I didn't even realize, ties into the message here with trust your innocence. Her card's direct meaning is learning to trust your inner self and intuition, and the encouragement to be completely honest with yourself. This means casting aside stories that may be detrimental to how this situation plays out, and not throwing out the quote-unquote shoulds that keep this sense of over direction and control. By the shoulds, I mean things like, this love of mine in the past was a massive jerk who hurt me, so he should come in such and such way or this way, and if not, then that means that he is not the one for me. Those kind of shoulds are a false assumption that is coming from a misinterpretation filtered through the lens of reactionary fear and pain. This masculine has very pure and stable intentions and is being more reserved in a way to maintain not only his emotional equilibrium so that he doesn't have a breakdown that isn't your fault onto you. He is also approaching in this way as well to properly start you guys on a more balanced foundation before getting into the more heavier stuff. This card also talks about being considerate and considerate of timing, realizing what is happening at this moment in a bigger picture sense. It's again that request from the universe to give a bit of grace, and that will be returned to you in positive ways. You will not be the one that is overgiving, and again, in no means overgive or overstretch for this person to try and bridge that gap or distance, because that is also an imbalanced nature that's going in the opposite direction, which can also cause this tower. And this card is like the Temperance card, and it's in the reverse. So ask yourself, how would the Temperance upright handle this situation? Your best bet is to be patient and to meet this person on their level. You don't have to go beyond that at this moment in time. Overextending diminishes the self-worth lesson that this love connection has provided the feminine. If you remember your lessons, your worth, your inner balance, then these initial conversations will go extremely well. This card talks about being truthful with another person and a deepening of romantic relationships. This is that guarantee because this is radiating the incoming energy for me that this person's intentions to be real and honest are there. Their intentions are not to play games. They aren't being sullen or closed off in a means to keep you at bay. This is just the final lingering stages, again, of this dark night of the soul that they are exiting from and trying to shake off. In fact, this is a Kundalini awakening card. This is the period in which they are leaving this and entering into this. This is a blending of your energies, transformation, and intensity. This card is conflict into harmony and rising above like the phoenix. There is a lot of passion that is rising up within your masculine. This fire, as we saw in one of my other reads, has been lit and is a source of creation and motivation for them in this connection. It is just at this moment internalized. So it'll take a good amount of your intuition on your part to sense this. I'm hearing if you use your intuition as a guide, you will sense the underlying energy, words that are on their way but yet to be spoken, and you will be able to tell the more serious nature that this person is trying to bring in. Your intuition over your fears will pick up if there truly is any danger, or if actual danger of being played or hurt is truly there in the situation. Again, the interaction is just not going to be in a way that you desire to control it or to control its pace. Again, it goes back to leaving beyond that phrase, it should. It should go this way. Give the situation up to the universe and ground. Try to achieve a state of flow so that the energies can blend easily together without resistance. Resistance will only cause opposite results from what you are going for. And the same can be said for non-romantic interactions. You will be able to sense the nature of this person that you are dealing with. If you use your intuition, you will be able to tell that their demeanor has nothing to do with you on a personal level. You will be able to sense and know that they are knowledgeable and that they know what they are doing, which will allow you to not have to stand around or cause any anxiety by hovering or trying to talk to them as they work. Again, they are on a nervous system level very heightened. So they're very sensitive to stress spikes of any kind. If this is friends or family, you will have your intuition that knows this person isn't shutting me out on purpose. I will give them some time. I know that we share a very good energetic bond. If I send them grace and balance without force, they will let me know what is going on with them later when they are ready and not so crazy sensitive. This card is also a very big twin flame indicator, especially when it comes to a mutual opening of Kundalini energies. Again, we have the word fire here, and it's just the way too in the imagery of how these energies are blending. Most twin flame connections, however, are catalysts for Kundalini awakenings. And as I said, your masculine is coming out of this into this. The Starseer over here is also about seeing things from a bigger picture perspective, using your good sense that comes from an open and clear intuition. This card is dreams finding their way into being and the outcome of a situation turning out more aligned than expected. I mean, this card, this is a beautiful, entwined, upward rising alignment. This is how, if you flow and release control, how this connection will go. So don't allow fear and misinterpretation of how this masculine acts within the few, yes, few interactions to bring this back down the ladder as opposed to ascending. This feels like a destined path upward regardless, but the speed in which this comes about, or the derailment of this, is the only thing that is in your hands as far as resistance and release goes. If one is not fully conscious of those, this will just keep going in repeat, and we don't want that. This card says to trust in your dreams unfolding, even if the route is not as direct as you imagined that it would be. And this is a beautiful confirmation card behind that as well. The Infinite, which is rebirth achieved through surrender. Just like the Fire card, it's the Phoenix rising from the ashes. With this deck here, this imagery, more so than the words, is applicable to me. Whether this is friend, family, or love, surrender and leave the light on for this person. They will make their way home. Remain this source of hope and balanced light for this person so that they can pull themselves up out of this lingering, albeit diminishing state of hopelessness. Because if you turn away and are dismissive in an equally fearful or guarded way, though it would be understandable as you trying to guard your heart, that is what brings your person who is trying to open up theirs, albeit very gradually and a bit closed off at first. They're trying to open this up in the ways in which they are currently capable at this moment. And that will improve. We see that in these cards here. But this response will create this chaos, similar to the Tower and the Sabotage card. Aside from the spiked cortisol that contributes to their approach, again, it's that more wise and grounded way that they want to grow and manifest this connection in. This card here is grounding and material stability, but also, most importantly here, this card shows the want to demonstrate tangible demonstrations of love, especially through stable physical means. They feel that a slower, more rational approach allows them to show you this stability they are trying to achieve and grow for the both of you. This, however, I'm feeling is still a work in progress for them. They are trying to build their confidence in this area. They aren't quite there yet, I'm hearing their higher self say. For some, I'm hearing that they may have lost money in things such as a divorce or through leaving behind those others. And this could have even happened due to a move, but whatever it was, they aren't quite back on the horse just yet. So any detachment that you may pick up in any sense where you feel that it should be more engaging or more open-hearted is only a distracted temporary state, because they are again focused on creating that grounded state for themselves, which in turn equals stability for the creation and growth of you as a couple. I mean, this is good, serious, well-intentioned future thinking, as opposed to a more lusty, with no idea where things are going type rushing in, with an inability to prove what they want to give you in a material sense. They don't want to make promises at this time that can't yet be backed up. And that is important. The words "at this time." This is that wisdom reflecting on not wanting to let you down. This is them equally manifesting this union, but for the time being, manifesting with a different point of focus. But both points, yours and theirs, are aimed at arriving here. It's the same end goal. So that's where trust, release, and surrender come in. Then behind these, we just have the simple explanation of things that we already kind of know, which is why this person ghosted. It wasn't because they didn't love you. It was spiritual entrapments and entanglements that they needed to clear away that complicated their life and the pursuit of you. The moon behind that amplifies that it wasn't all as it seemed, and they definitely aren't wanting to hurt or ghost you again. Their intention is now set on this new beginning and fighting, as we see the warrior here, for the success of the union, and this is lasting success. With the fairy deck, again, it's that sullen initial hopeless haze that has nothing to do with you or their feelings or their excitement for you and about you. They are working on a brighter future. It's the same message here. These cards reiterate as well what I said, that they fear what they consider to be flaky or only half provable in this moment declarations of what they see or want for both of you in the future. They want to have it in their hand before they present the dream, not the other way around. And this is where your intuition and guides come in. This blank card here is represented to me as your intuition card. You're meant to draw in what your individual guide looks like here, but I've always just kind of kept it blank in the deck. But as I said, this is where your intuition comes in when it comes to the preservation of this connection. If you allow free-floating anxiety and mistrust to assume that this person is just being non-committal or indecisive and not making the bold declarations that you think they should in order to step forward into a mutually fast pace give and take of emotions, that will just lead to another potential separation. This is the unity card here in the reverse. And this separation, again, may come about if you harshly react, again, in misinterpretation on how you feel this person is denying love and still appearing to you as wearing a mask. This is also them not acting from that more lusty or romantic side when they come in, being in the reverse. That is because, just like in some of my prior reads before, that is part of the masculine wanting this connection to grow in a more slow and balanced way. So they are putting a damper on more sexual overtones or expressions for now. That doesn't mean there isn't a buttload of desire here, because this is, after all, the rising and the opening of the Kundalini. It's just dampered so as to not create a foundation upon instability or impulsivity. The universe asks instead to self-reflect on any negative reactions that you may feel by this differing approach taken from the masculine. The difference in approaching how you would like or think everything should go versus how they are showing up. Use whatever discomfort you're feeling as a reflection point to see where there may be some unresolved healing, fear, or pain, which is the underlying wound that is attempting to over control or that is needing that reassurance. That reassurance sought needs to come from inner balancing first and foremost, that internal reassurance of your safety and your worth. And that is in addition to the trusting, releasing, and knowing that in several spots of this reading, this connection is headed in a very positive direction, one that is strong and stable. There's nothing but good intentions here. Despite the masculine's approach, which could be, if you weren't forewarned, harshly judged, and or wildly misinterpreted. So value this for what it is, which is an open opportunity to manifest this future. Though it is starting small with this page here, it's just like how she is playing this violin. Remember to go with a gentle flowing rhythm. Match the flow and frequency of the communication. And when I hear the word frequency, I not only heard frequency in the way of vibration, but also in the way of how often. So don't over-text or even under-text, but match the tone and frequency of the communication so as to not attempt to over-direct the pace and control. Allow things to flow again in that natural and gentle rhythm, and they will relax, reset, and open up as they intend to do. Again, we have another Phoenix card, our third one in this read. So big changes, rising above those ashes, not only moving from choppy waters into smooth, but this Six of Swords imagery to me is also moving in a way that is ascending as souls individually, and ascending in your soul contract and level of commitment to one another, albeit very slowly. This, as we have this person sleeping here, and this Knight of Pentacles is one of the slowest knights in the deck, but he is the most reliable and stable of the knights. He's who you can count on to have a future with. That is not to say that the masculine likes how they have to contain all of this turbulent emotion within them. They feel this too, to great depths. And it's all contained here to this fishbowl. they're just very conscious of not letting this overtake and make waves, to flood or to overwhelm, especially since these aren't yet calmed waters within them. And they will at first, as we've seen, put that damper on that more intimate expression with the Lovers and the Four of Cups, because they want to be more stable. I'm hearing grounded, rooted, balance. And to ground and root the two of you, when you blend your lives and energies together, it's that same entwined energy as we have here on the Fire card. And this is important imagery and symbolism right here. Although these are two different suits, we have Cups and Pentacles. Both cards show people that are trees, and that is representative of that stability, grounding, and rooted nature. This King of Pentacles, they are working to become, knows that they are able to provide that when the time comes. They feel that the pain and separation in the past was caused by them acting mostly on your attractiveness, male or female. This is the sexiness and enthralling Queen of Wands, very magnetic. But when they acted and communicated based on that lower seeming vibration of lust versus deeper forms of love that they now want to bring in, it caused a lack of clarity and an instability on their part on what they brought toward you and how they behaved. And although you two were connecting, it was a false victory, which is also wisdom that they gained that they do not wish to repeat. They want to bring in change, we see the butterfly here, as well as balance with these equal scales. I'm hearing the words as well. They want to do things the right way, which means holding back for a little bit. However, they will still be clear and direct. We see them talking. It's just hampered and not overly expressive. With the sword up here on the king and with the Knight of Swords here upright, they aren't going to be confusing or communicating in a way that'll feel like mind games. Again, they just aren't bringing in that fast intensity in the ways that you feel they should be. This is where temperance and balance and patience are critical on both sides to lead to this destined future outcome that you both desire to manifest. The Wheel of Fortune and the Three of Wands. So that is your reading. Sending you all my best with love and light. Have a wonderful rest of your day.